Meta is on the chopping block, and it may have a direct impact on some of the best crypto projects out there. Today, we'll break it down for you. It's going to be interesting. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. I do want to thank our sponsor, and that is iTrust Capital. In these volatile times, this is what you want to do: diversify. One of the ways you can do that is get into an IRA. Granted, now there are tax advantages there for you. I think you can still take advantage of it before April 15th. Check it out, but use our link down below. If you sign up for a crypto IRA, you can get up to $100 in funding rewards to get started. So let's get into this whole issue with Meta. And I want to do this first intro because this will give you a framework of what happened in Congress yesterday. Take a look.
Did members of the Facebook executive team or other employees at Facebook, Meta, ever brief members of the Chinese Communist Party?
Yes, Senator, regularly.
Exchanged information with them?
You had meetings at the top executive level, so Mark and Cheryl, and you had meetings, all the way down to providing briefings on cutting-edge technology like facial recognition, which is obviously very helpful to the Chinese Communist Party.
All right, so the person that Hawley was talking to there is an ex-key employee at Meta under non-disclosure, and it gets really dicey in terms of the things that they talked about. I want to go further into this because this is where Hawley brings a little bit of evidence. Take a look.
Here's a readout of a group of Facebook engineers offering to create a censorship regime. Phase 0, we identify all traffic that are currently blocked in China, and we, Facebook, block them. And another conversant says, great stuff, guys, let's do it.
They're talking about activating their censorship tools on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party.
Facebook employees celebrating it. Good way to build trust. They mean build trust with the Communist Chinese Party, right?
Correct, Senator.
Even though its very existence was denied before this committee in 2018.
That's correct, Senator.
Facebook went in front of Congress and actually lied to them. This is a problem, I think, for Facebook in general. Meta goes a little bit further. This is where it gets into the tools that were used. Take a look at this.
So anytime a piece of content got over 10,000 views, that would automatically trigger it being reviewed by what they called the chief editor.
Chief editor's power limited to reviewing viral posts?
Oh, no, it's extensive power. The chief editor would be able to turn off the entire service in specific regions. For example, Xinjiang would also be able to turn off or manage the service on significant anniversaries like the anniversary of Tiananmen Square. The virality counters were not just installed, but activated in Hong Kong and also in Taiwan.
Was directed at Taiwan?
That's my understanding, Senator.
And Hong Kong?
That's my understanding.
Okay, so this was, to me, one of the most, I guess, the biggest revelations I've seen in terms of censorship being talked about in Congress openly right now, one of the biggest companies out there. Now, this is where it gets kind of interesting around banning people, and I think this is where they cross the line. Take a look at this.
Facebook shut down that page based on pressure from the Chinese Communist Party. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Let's just take a look here at the documents. Here, Mr. Chow asks Facebook, it says to Facebook that they want Mr. Guo's Facebook page dealt with, and then they go on to list, here's what we could do. We could do nothing, we could say we can do something, or we can do even more than expected, but we need to provide a response to the Chinese Communist Party on what we can do. Facebook acknowledging this pressure, saying we need to do something if we want to get the party's cooperation, the government's cooperation. And what happened next?
This man on American soil was kicked off the platform.
Then in September, they make that ban permanent. Now, here's the really interesting thing. Facebook's general counsel was asked about this directly under oath in a Senate Intelligence Committee hearing. Senator Rubio asked him directly, was there any pressure from the Chinese government to block his account? The general counsel, Mr. Stretch, no, Senator. It's in fact an outright lie, is it not?
It is, Senator.
Wow. Okay, so these are kind of mind-blowing clips here, guys. When you look at the evidence that China has been, possibly manipulating American data, this is where it gets even deeper. Now, remember, this also goes into the whole issue around TikTok, why there's a ban, all of that. Let's go to this next clip.
In exchange for the ability to do operations in China, Facebook will agree to grant the Chinese government access to Chinese user data. There it is in black and white. Access to Chinese user data, including Hong Kongese user data. And then they talk about they're going to have to get their Hong Kong citizens to re-agree to terms of service so they can slide this right by them. Was Americans' user data ever compromised? Do they ever plan to compromise American user data in any way? Do you know?
You can't segregate data. It would have American data, it would have Chinese user data, and it would be on Chinese soil. Because
they're going to store that data in China. Is that correct?
Correct.
But when you store that data in China, Americans who exchange messages or other information with Chinese Facebook users, that would mean the Chinese government could get access to the American data as well. Is that correct?
Through the POP servers, potentially, yes.
And Facebook was willing to take that risk?
Yes, ultimately, yes.
I mean, this is extraordinary.
This is extraordinary. All right, so remember that the FTC fined Facebook, and it was kind of maybe a warning fine. I'll talk about that in a second, but this was a clip where they kind of reiterated that. I wonder what this means now. Take a look.
Back in 2012, the FTC here in this country, the FTC entered a consent decree with Facebook about privacy.
They were intended to prevent Meta from deceiving people about the extent to which they collect and share their data.
And yet, they are deliberately misrepresenting across the world the security of user data, including the Hong Kongese, including Taiwan. In fact, they testified under oath. We don't make user data available.
Okay, this is very upsetting to me when you see an American company acting in these kinds of ways. And of course, Facebook was fined $5 billion by the FTC. This is, of course, them having to update and adopt new privacy security measures. Now, whether they get off with a slap or maybe another what could be $100 billion or greater fine would be the interesting thing. Maybe some people actually going to jail for this. Let's take this a little bit further, because now you have to think about AI and the integration of AI into what Meta has been able to do and is doing. And some other things were revealed during this hearing as well. Take a look at this one.
Did Facebook actually brief members of the CCP on artificial intelligence, to your knowledge?
Yes, Senator.
Facebook, that is, would help China outcompete other American businesses. As an American company going to our chief foreign adversary, on whom we currently have tariffs of like 10 billion%, and saying, hey, we'd love to help you. We would love to help you beat all of these other American companies.
The greatest trick Mark Zuckerberg ever pulled was wrapping the American flag around himself and calling himself a patriot and saying he didn't offer services in China while he spent the last decade building an $18 billion business there. And he continues to wrap the flag around himself as we move into the next era of artificial intelligence.
So do you believe Facebook is an honest broker? This is called a softball.
This is a very twisted web that we've got right now where there's a dependence on all of this. If you look at, even Computer World was reporting on this yesterday, Meta helped build China's Deepseek. Whistleblower testimony came in and basically said that very thing. That's what they were talking about right there. And I think this is the issue, guys, is we are starting to see the decline of maybe some of the biggest tech companies out there for the next evolution. And the next evolution will be a decentralized, much more open scenario that plays into how social media is going to be used. We talk about it here on the channel often in terms of the future of where this is going for social media. We think it's going to be in a crypto and blockchain element that will make this go forward. If you look at how Congress views Mark Zuckerberg right now, here's Josh Hawley.
He's recently tried a reinvention. Now he's on Joe Rogan and says that he is Mr. Free Speech, he is Mr. MAGA. Do you buy this latest reinvention of Mark Zuckerberg?
This is a man who wears many different costumes. Wanted the president of China to name his first child. He was learning Mandarin. Now his new costume is MMA fighting or whatever, free speech. We don't know what the next costume's going to be, but it'll be something different.
I don't trust his latest reinvention at all. Every time, it's something misleading.
Very interesting times, guys. You remember all the way back in 2021 when Meta, Facebook rebranded as Meta. Now, their big claim at that time, we'll go back to this Meta video all the way back to 3 years ago, 7.7 million views. This was essentially talking about NFTs and virtual merch inside the metaverse. And that was, of course, all being looked at to where eventually it would go into their AR, VR project. And this was kind of the future of where we would see things go. That, of course, is a rug pull because that was taken off. Again, no more Facebook NFTs. Meta reveals their whole creator support plan was not going to go in this direction. This was a problem that we had. You know, when we cover technology, we look at blockchain as one of the, the critical components of the future for creators. And Meta, of course, was going in the opposite direction. Now, this next clip we'll get into a little bit more around how much pressure Meta was trying to put on Congress, because this is a big death blow if all of this comes out and is proven true, that Meta may have some very serious problems. Take a look.
The last 4 weeks have been very difficult.
Apart from the threats in a judicial setting, have there been others?
Maybe it's helpful if I read what they told me.
Please do.
If I were permitted to communicate with legislators, that's you, nothing would limit or prevent those legislators or their aides from parroting to the public any disparaging statements. A disparaging statement is a true statement that would have not only $50,000 for each truthful statement, actual damages for breach of confidentiality.
They are warning you against what we might say based on your comments to us. In effect, you'd be held responsible for what we might say as a result of your truthful testimony.
Not just you, senators, something your aide might say.
In other words, what these folks in back of us might say.
Even though it's factual and true.
Even though it's factually true. I mean, now that you mention it, it creates pressure on us. Could have to worry about harming you. And the gag order is still in effect.
That's right, Senator. This may be the last time I'm allowed to speak.
I can promise you, Ms. Wynn-Williams, that this will not be the end. This is just the beginning.
Interesting stuff, guys. The drama is high right now between DC and Silicon Valley. Now, remember that, some of the employees that disagreed with this were, basically went out and said, hey, we think we can do something better. And the way that they went after it was with Sui. Sui is, of course, all blockchain executives that came over from Meta and have basically, they launched this test net. It was like a year after Meta had launched or was trying to make its diversion into the metaverse. With all that happening, then, of course, you look at where they are right now. Here's a good statement from Miston Labs. Web3 needs a better data security, seal a decentralized secrets management. This is a DSM service. This is all live now on Sui. And the cool thing about this, remember Walrus, we've talked about Walrus before. This is kind of like storing content. Think of it as videos, podcasts, whatever it might be. It's real physical files or digital files. That's Walrus. This is actually a part of a testnet that stores secrets. So it's called Seal. It's a robust encryption and on-chain access control for sensitive data. This would be one of the things that would be needed for a decentralized social media platform. And that is where Sui could really make a big inroad here going forward, because their tech stack is designed to do all the things that we believe need to be done around social media. Here's a quick video on Evan Cheng, one of the co-founders of Sui, talking about this. Take a look.
People thinking about, all you need is a blockchain. That's just completely wrong, right? You need a lot more. Because otherwise you fall back to centralized solution for these key parts, right? What if you're not responsible for your customers' information? Essentially delegating the responsibility to decentralized infrastructure. And then finally, right, with seals coming up next afterwards, is you're no longer responsible for customer secrets. This is, to us, the minimum viable set of infrastructure for a business transforming into this trustless model.
All right, so that's Evan Cheng, and we've had, if you haven't seen the video, we have a video out there with Evan. I did an interview with him. Very straightforward about what they're talking about here, because this is going to basically launch a ton of, all of what's happening right now being exposed on Meta is going to launch a ton of lawsuits whether it's liability, customer privacy, all these things are going to be coming at Meta in a big way. And I think this is going to start the segue into a decentralized social media infrastructure. What Evan was talking about there was that very issue, is that you have to be able to offset, user data away from a centralized location, which is essentially what Sui is trying to do. So a lot of good news here. I think in general, it's good news because blockchain can solve a lot of these problems. If you look at just the monetization side of things, this is a good example of Twitter and X monetizing. And remember, they haven't really started to monetize yet completely because it's very selective. You have to have so many thousands of impressions over a period of time versus what we've seen with things like Warpcast. Obviously, you guys know a little bit about Farcaster, but the point being is that the likelihood of a shift moving out of these centralized social medias platforms into a decentralized model is getting closer and closer. And I think with what we're uncovering right now with Meta, this could be a big part of this. Here's another one. This is the Firefly app. It's now live on chain for SocialFi. Again, not large. This is Lynn's protocol. Now, not large in the sense of adoption, and I think this is the problem that we have right now around some of these Web3 social media platforms. Another one to take a look at. You can kind of see, let me kind of play this so you get a little bit of an insight of how it's being used. But the cool thing is it's very X-esque, meaning it's got token integration, the potential of being able to earn on it, as well as owning your own data, all of that available. If X could be able to do something like this, this would be the natural evolution. Now, the question is whether or not Elon would go that direction. I don't know. But this is where social media is going, guys. Here is Arena. Arena is another social platform out there, mostly in the Avalanche ecosystem. And if you look at what they're doing right now, they just launched live streaming. Why is this not available on X? Why is this not already there? And of course, there's Emin right there from Avalanche. Point being is that this might be the gateway to the next generation of content creators and also content distribution. So be on the lookout for all that good stuff. We are 8 right here. This, of course, is getting into the whole idea of where TikTok is going right now, because this is a limitation that you have on centralized social media, which is what TikTok is. Also being involved in what's going on with ByteDance and this whole ban potential that has, even though it has been pushed back, the likelihood of that being part of these tariff negotiations with China is real. So I want to go to this last clip. This is Trump talking about an update on TikTok.
Mr. President, where does the TikTok deal stand, given what we've seen, the tariffs
Well,
to
it's moving
China?
along, but obviously I would say right now China's not exactly thrilled about signing it. We have a deal with some very good people, some very rich companies that would do a great job with it, but we're going to have to wait to see what's going to happen with China. No, it's on the table very much. I think China's going to want to do it, actually.
All right, so you have to think about what Trump's intent here is, because he obviously has China in the crosshairs around a deal that's going to be made on TikTok. It's going to be made soon. Whether it is Frank McCourt and his team, whether it is Amazon, Oracle, Meta. I mean, we see a lot of names in the picture right now. This is going to be interesting because if we can get it moving, and I say if we, meaning the industry, if it can move toward a decentralized model, this could be the very first real major platform with lots of users that could literally start the process of decentralized social media. You guys stick around for that because we cover this a lot here on the channel. Get in the Diamond Circle. It is a great place to get additional content from us, and also join our Telegram group, which is the link down below. We only have one account over there, so check it out. We use a link down there you guys can use. And of course, follow me on X, @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.